Hello darlings, this is Miss Darling in the studio, and today I'm going to be dealing with vertical, what do we call them? Vertical bands or ephemera tucks? I don't know what the official term is, but I had made these belly bands and I've covered them, how I made them in another video. So I won't be dealing with that, but I wanted to make some vertical bands that had this same feeling, same palette, and so I did. I made these off camera, and today's video will deal with making some of these. So this is the vertical version. It doesn't have a dangle because it's obviously going to be hanging vertically, and it's a different background paper. And as I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but for the backgrounds in these I've been using some of the Tim Holtz tissue paper backgrounds, and I just love these, and there's many different ones. The one I'm going to be using today is called Document, and I'll try to put links in the description box below this video so you can go get some if you choose to. I got these from Amazon, and I've already used in fact the background for here, which has a bunch of vintage maps on, is called Travel/Voyage. And I'll show you in a minute, I did one with Avery, and I've done one with typography. And I found that the images in floral and botanical to be a little too large for this particular type of project, so I've not used those. But this one is travel, and then let me show you the other ones that I made. These were belly bands, and this is from the Avery collection, so you can see how great those look as backgrounds. And the backgrounds are so great and full themselves. I did very little to them in terms of embellishment. I did add my dangles and a few embellishments, so I don't know if we'll have time for this today or whether I will make verticals in that style, but I am going to do something similar, not exactly the same, but something similar to these. And if this appeals to you, then stay tuned and let's go to work. So let me get this out here. So here's one of them. And if you haven't seen my other videos on this, I'm using carpet tape. This is 2 inches wide by 10 yards long. And I have to warn you, the adhesive on this is very gooey, very sticky, and very strong. And if you plan to make something and then you want to use your sewing machine or even a hand needle to embellish further, do not use the carpet tape or any industrial tape of this nature, because it will totally ruin your needles and quite possibly your sewing machine. I couldn't even use a needle by hand. It just instantly ruined the needle and you couldn't pull it through. So that's a precautionary warning. Use something different if you plan on using any sewing technique in your product. Okay, I have cut 2 strips off at the roll, and you see the text reads this way, but my vertical bands are going to be going this way. So I will be splicing them together, and I want to put my right side down or no, the better way to do this is, now this is going to land this way, so I'm going to roll the opposite end toward me, and the reason I'm going to do that is so that I have better control of the paper as I place it down. I want to get it as straight on the tape as I can manage. It might not be perfectly placed, but we'll just do the best we can, especially with this first sheet, because it will possibly have an effect on the strips that go down after it. Alright, so I'm going to come over here and kind of try to hold this down with my pinky a little bit. And I'm going to try to place the paper right along the edge, matching edge to edge. And I got the paper down sort of edge to edge, but of course as I'm coming across you can see that there's some creases that are in there. I don't mind that. That helps it look even more vintage. And so, not to worry if you have some creases. I just go in with a burnisher and kind of flatten them down a bit. And make sure that I've burnished the whole sheet onto the adhesive, staying away as much as possible from any exposed adhesive, because it's going to gunk up your burnisher or anything that touches it, including your hands. Okay, now for strip number 2, it's going to fall right below that. So again, I'm going to start on the far end and gently roll the paper toward me so I have more control over it. And not too bad. Okay, there's one. I'll do the same thing. Let's see, this is going, well, I think now that I've got one down, I'm in a little bit more control of the paper. And so this time around, I think we can simply turn the tape upside down and place it in there, nice and easy. And I always like to burnish it from the reverse side to help make sure it's completely adhered everywhere. Okay, now we ran out down here, so let's kind of I don't think it's going to show to lay this on its side. When you're cutting very thin paper, you want to make sure your blade lies flat against the paper, otherwise it's going to buckle and tear. So we'll work with that later. And now for the third and final strip. I'm going to try to come over to the far side and lay this down close to the edge over here. And then I've got this one little section there. Okay, this carpet tape is thick enough that you can really just take a blade and run it down alongside and get a nice clean cut. I'm going to touch it up a little bit. I think this is the one that I did not burnish from the back side, so let me do that real quick. And you see how nicely that comes out? And it's very pliable at this stage. So if you don't want it to stay pliable, of course, then you'll be pulling the tape off from the back, because it is double-sided tape, and you'll tape it down to a harder surface like another piece of cardstock if you want to stiffen it up. For right now, and for making them, I'm okay with them being rather pliable. So there's that one. The nice thing about trying to butt them up against each other is that you can separate them with one pass, but it is more difficult to get them to butt right up against each other without having an overlap somewhere. And this is how this one looks. Do have a gap right here, and I'll take care of that with something, or maybe just cut a snippet off right here and lay that down and see if that takes care of most of it. Okay, and then last but not least, I do find that this adhesive it's hard not to disturb it somewhere along the line when you're working with it. It just wants to grab hold of everything that even breathes on it. Alright, so here they are, the 3 carpet strips, and the text is all reading this way, so it makes it very nice to, you know, glue it down if you're, whether you're placing this in the center of a journal page or on one end or the other to use as a tuck. Doesn't matter, you know, the text is reading the right way and the flowers are all turned up to the right direction. And so now we have to just look at putting some ephemera on it to make it come more alive and maybe bring a little more color to it. And I'll bring these out again. These are the ones that I did off camera. This background actually is very similar to the background I used on those. So these could be a set with that. And even these could be a set. These are a little more green, little darker backgrounds, but other than that, they're all, you know, very interchangeable. So I'm not going to, I think I'm just going to stay with the similar palette, bringing out some reds if I can, maybe a little green here and there, nice complementary colors, and that way they could be interchangeably used however they are needed. And so I'm going to pull out some ephemera now and be right back. Okay, I'm back and I've pulled out quite a bit of ephemera and played with it and think I kind of like what I've got going here. I know that some people are going to think it's not busy enough, and others are going to think it's too busy. And I probably maybe would side a little bit more with the too busy side of things, but I'm trying to also make the vertical bands look and feel good with these horizontal belly bands. And I think, I've got quite a bit of red over here. I've got some black and red here, and then black and green over here. This is what I'm going to go with, so now it's just a matter of plunking everything down. These buttons have to be glued on because, as I said earlier, you can't put a needle through. And there we have the first one. What I do is I look for kind of bare spots and figure out what to do to make them a little more interesting. Trying to spread my colors throughout the whole piece. These are threads that I've pulled off of fabrics that I have ripped up for various projects. I keep the little threads that come off and use them in projects like this. See, where's 12 o'clock? Don't know. I have quite a few threads hanging off these little bits of fabric, and I like that. I like the grunginess of that. And if I have some rather strong pieces that like this, that kind of on the right side, and this is kind of on the right side, then I'm going to go on the left side down here. So, there we have that one. Turn your head sideways and you can see the whole thing in frame. And the last one. And if you like the content of this video, I'd appreciate you give the video a like, give me a comment, tell me what you like, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see me do in the future. Be sure and check out my Etsy shop for resources, as well as the description box below the video. And let me clean up a little bit here and put them back out. Maybe turn them kind of at an angle. I'll bring back out the belly bands that I've made to coordinate with them. And just, crazy fun. Just nothing real spectacular. Just having fun, being grungy and just decorating them up in a haphazard manner, so to speak. And the only thing I point out is, just trying to distribute your color up and down fairly evenly. And if you go to the right at one point, then, consider going to the left side the next time to, help balance it out and just have fun. look for things in your stash. Don't go buy stuff. Just, try and use up stuff that you've had sitting around and you haven't done anything with. These are great projects to, use up stuff that you don't normally use. Maybe it's a color or, just not your favorite thing. This is a good place to, kind of use it up, and so it doesn't go to waste and just sit around in your home forever, going nowhere and doing nothing. So having said that, I've had a lot of fun, and I hope you've learned something and have been inspired to create your own belly bands and vertical bands and tucks. And so this is Miss Darling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.